There's a lot of podcasts out there that have a ton of followers, but they don't make a ton of dollars. That's what we talk about today with JP Hightek. JP Hightek is a legendary branding master. He's also extremely good with anything to do with YouTube. And in this, we talked about a few different things. One of the big ones was YouTube podcasts. JP made some very interesting predictions about YouTube podcasts compared to Spotify and understanding how customers interact with video and audio. Super interesting part to listen to, especially if you're wanting to go from the audio experience into video or vice versa. He has some really interesting nuggets on that. Another interesting thing we talk about is how to use live stream. JP said that live stream was one of the biggest things that transformed his business. Very much on the same thread of why it's so of why YouTube podcasts might flop is in thread with how he uses live stream and how that's been able to really help him leverage and gear up his own brand. Another cool thing we talk about is how to really create a seamless customer experience. If you've ever struggled with people going, "Hey, how do you actually, what do you actually do?" This is the podcast for you. This is going to really help it make a lot more sense and help you be really intentional and clear about the customer experience and what your customers are going to be going through and how you can connect with them more deeply. So, super excited. Let's jump in. This is JP Hightek here on the Reach Podcast. Welcome to Reach. This is a show for podcasters who are not only trying to grow an amazing show, but they actually want to make money. I'm excited to share with you the secrets that I've learned along the way, as well as introduce you to some amazing guests who are going to really help you take your show to the next level. I'm your host, Brunson Smith. Let's dive in.
YouTube podcasts. Well, here's the thing, right? YouTube had the feature where you can, kind of create a playlist on YouTube. And then from there, you identify that as a podcast, which will allow you to go on the YouTube Music platform, right? Think about that. When you go to YouTube Music dedicated, the music app for YouTube, where you can listen to the podcast there, right? Inherently, we know that the main platform, YouTube, is for video. And of course, the reason why YouTube, based on the story there, that they decided to tap into podcasts is just to allow creators. A lot of creators that are on YouTube that are mostly podcasts, meaning audio based, right? Not necessarily video. And so YouTube noticed that there's an influx of creators that are posting videos that were initially recorded as an audio, version. And they're adding images, animation to it, or trying to make it some sort of video to make that present on YouTube. And so they wanted to tap into that industry, understanding that now podcasting is $1 billion industry today, right? And so now what YouTube started to do, of course, they gave creators that ability to convert playlists into audio podcasts where people can stream the audio podcasts on the YouTube app. Now, here's the thing. They have decided, based on the latest news, to take that away, okay? So they want to take that feature away. And so far, the information that I have is, well, they are trying to see what will be best for them. Because ultimately, when you go on YouTube, you want to watch videos, not listen to audio podcasts. So that hasn't been working that great, but they really want to leverage their audio streaming, music streaming platform to push podcasts. So we're watching, observing, and see how they're going to do that. But the truth is this, right? Most people do not go on YouTube to listen to audio podcasts. That's just what it is. If you're on YouTube, you got to have a video aspect to what you're creating. It's that simple, right? Whenever we're talking about audio streaming podcasts, automatically people think about Apple Podcasts, which is number one, right? They'll think about Apple, Spotify, Google Podcasts, which is different from, the YouTube podcast. And also knowing that Google does have Google Podcasts. So you see, it's kind of like their own competition, right? They're creating their own competition there. So I believe, honestly, from a business standpoint, they're looking at that like, does it make a real sense? Because we have Google Podcasts, now YouTube Podcasts, which is the audio. Why don't you just let people have the video aspect of the podcast and then, in the tag? So I'm a software developer. That's my background for the folks that don't know me. I'm a global branding expert. What I do is help industry leaders, organizations, and small business owners build a premium brand leveraging technology. But my actual background, I started as a cinematographer, then software developer, graphic web designer, and then photography, which has allowed me to create my company. So my philosophy and my approach in regards to a lot of questions if you listen to the podcast or watching it, will be from that aspect, right? From that point of view, due to how I look at life and look at things. So it'll be a little different. But yeah, honestly, for me, right, my personal opinion, when it comes out to the YouTube, the way it's done right now, it's going to be a flop, right? Simply because, I mean, YouTube is primarily video. The other one is just testing the waters per se, right? And see if they can capture some leads there, make some money leveraging the podcasters that are available out there. That's all from an industry and business standpoint for me. Honestly, that's what YouTube is doing.
Interesting. Okay, so you think that this may not crush it. And we also have Spotify, right? Which
Mhm.
I actually watch a lot of Spotify video podcasts now.
Video.
Like if I'm tuning into Joe Rogan, I'll get in trouble for saying this, but I turn on the auto drive on my car, and if I'm like in a long stretch, I prop it up there in the dash, and I just turn
Mhm.
on the video feature of it. And as I'm driving, I'll kind of look over, and because occasionally they'll pull up a video or they'll show a clip from a fight or something. And so like Spotify's kind of done this, but in reverse, right? Where
Right.
primarily audio brand that's now merging into video. Do you think Spotify's going to do well?
See, yes. See, that's the thing. I love that you put it like that. Here's the thing. YouTube primarily is a video platform, right? That's a different audience. Spotify primarily is an audio streaming platform, different audience. Now, here's the thing. Whenever somebody is a video first audience, right, or customer, they want to see visuals. They want to connect with you on a video standpoint, which means you got to leverage your video to tell a story, to, create an emotion in people. They are expecting a video first production. Okay. It's harder for somebody that, let's say, for example, you were to go to the theaters and they were to tell you that movie, we're doing something new. You're going to watch some images by primarily audio. Put your headphones on. People will be very disappointed because they're coming for an experience that only video, right, or cinematography can give them. But now let's flip the coin now. Let's go to the audio platform. I already got the audio. I already got all the production that the audio platform. So I'm not expecting too much from a video. So now the video aspect is a welcome bonus. See? And so now you don't have to do too much to create video on Spotify because the audience that's there, they don't necessarily need to see you. They need to hear you. But if you add visuals to it, now some folks that also appreciate video will start clicking on the video. But here's the thing. The underscore word there, the highlighted word is expectation. So that's where a lot of folks miss that at. What does that platform expect from you? If you offer what people are expecting, then they'll embrace you. Now, if you miss and you do not deliver based on the expectation from a customer standpoint, they're not going to want to come back for you or what you have to offer. So that's very important. And so, yes, as a matter of fact, Spotify is doing fantastic with the video podcast. And I always encourage a lot of my clients to tap into that and to create video podcasts, because last year we were number 5 on podcasts. So my podcast, the Content Creators University, was number 5 for all video podcasts in the business category. And I was very, very happy to see that on Spotify. Yes, we're number 5
I didn't know
worldwide. That. Yeah. So
well,
that was really
what a
amazing.
Huge deal. Congratulations.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate that.
Yeah, that's amazing. Okay, so this is kind of interesting. And this kind of comes back to the E-Myth, right? You've read the E-Myth when he has that analogy. He said, if you were to go to a barber, go to your barber and he always had a glass of wine and then one day it was a beer, you got used to the wine.
Right.
And it's no longer the experience you were expecting. He's like, oh, well, it's better. Or, maybe the opposite, right? A beer. And he's like, oh, no, but I got you a really fancy glass of wine. He's like, yeah, but I expected a beer. I came here for a beer and a haircut. And so I think that's a great consideration. Like you can add bonuses, but you can't change the core experience if they were expecting, right, the visual. And like,
the second you do that,
used to that. Yeah.
The second you do that in business, you will start struggling, right? And so I'm glad that YouTube or Spotify did not take away the foundational element, which is what people are expecting on the platform. Because they know if they do that, then now they're inviting a complete different audience. And so that may not necessarily work for you. And that's a huge lesson, right? If you're an entrepreneur, you're a small business owner, or you're a creator, that want to grow your business, this is very important, right? Start by asking your question. What does my target audience expect from the type of product services that I'm there to deliver? What are they expecting, right? Am I delivering that? Because customers will come back for your what you have to offer over and over again based on the experience that they expect for you to deliver. And if you keep delivering that, if you have that consistency there, they'll always come. Now, you may have additional bonuses or what I call multiplying your streams of income, right? So, for example, if you look at the story of Amazon, Jeff Bezos, why when they created Amazon, initially he was in his garage and he was selling books. Okay. Now, if we look at that experience of selling products online, still the same today, right? People still purchasing products, people still buying books and all of that. What did Amazon do? Amazon went further, right? And say, let me add some bonus products to this and see how people will react to it. Now, they may embrace the whole thing wholeheartedly, right? And or they may be like, okay, it's a gimmick. But here's the thing, you never know how people will embrace it. So you want to keep that foundational element, and then you want to start adding streams of income, all right, which are different branches, right? You have a branch, you have that root, it grew, and now you have, the different branches of your tree, right? So now it's growing, and you see how people will pick that up from. But if you turn away from the foundational element, which is what people are actually expecting you to deliver, right? Then you will start losing completely, and you may go in the opposite direction to a different industry, right? So Amazon going out there started offering Amazon Prime, right? And they're like, okay, with Amazon Prime, you can get your product faster, the same products that we've always offered. Now, guess what? You can get that faster. You just pay a premium for this. And now on top of that, if you get the Amazon Prime, guess what? You'll be able to stream movies. Here's the thing. They were not in the movie streaming industry, right? So they're like, you can stream movies. Let's see how people appreciate if we're to offer them movies. Once you do it and you see that is something that people embrace, is welcome, you can now go full force on that. But yeah, that is something that we need to learn as entrepreneurs and know that that's how business actually works. And it works all the time.
I love that. Great analogy with Amazon. And that's, they found what they were good at. And then, they were able to slowly widen that circle.
Mm.
So going back to kind of this idea of widening the circle, then you are probably one of the greats when it comes to live streaming, right? How to do it effectively, how to do it so it actually works. Let's just say you're a podcaster, you've got a good show, you've got some things rolling. How do we pull in the live streaming effect to widen our audience and actually convert better?
Man, you're asking all the greatest questions today. Like, I love the questions you're asking. Well, that's a great question. And live stream has transformed my business completely, right? Completely. Let me say that again. Live stream transformed my business completely. Here's the thing. Video, of course, when I say live stream, I'm talking about video live stream, okay? Because you can do an audio only based live stream, but video live stream is what transformed my business. And here's why. Video, of course, is the best way to communicate a message, right? To spark an emotion in somebody's mind and heart. And of course, we know that people connect with people. And so when you have a brand, people will connect with you. Ultimately, they're connecting with your story. And your story is what is, sending that emotion into them. So that they can connect with the, pain point of the story you're telling. And so they can find themselves in what you're sharing. And from there, you spark an emotion in them, and that leads into conversion. Okay. So here's the thing. Live stream is still a video. Video live stream is still a video. But now is a video that has something unique added to it. Now we're telling the same stories. We're creating the same emotion in a unique platform, which is we're having a live conversation that you can only get. The experience of the live stream, underscore the word experience, takes place in a specific defined time frame, right? There's a specific time, date that you're going live. So you have some people that will want to connect with you, which is why a lot of folks, they want to watch their favorite TV show. Even though they may get that on demand later, they want to tune in live when they're streaming live on their favorite channel. Why? That's a very good question. Even though it will be available later on demand, they still want to watch it live. Why? People want to rush home, get off work, and say, I have my favorite show that's airing at this time. Let's take the Super Bowl. People want to tune in live. Why can't they have the Super Bowl on demand? Think about that for a second. What if they were not broadcasting the Super Bowl live anymore? And they said, we'll record the same thing. You just have to enjoy the replay later. You're not going to watch it live. You will see a decline in the numbers. Because whenever people connect,
for the most crazy price ever.
I know.
Yeah, you'd pay anything. You'd pay anything if you
Hmm.
knew that all your buddies couldn't watch it for a day, but you were going to be the one that was there seeing it in the real moment.
Exactly. Right. So that is what it makes the viewer or the customer feel part of a world of something that's bigger than them, which means that is the definition of community. Now your live stream is allowing you to build a community of ambassadors, people that love your product or service that you're talking about, love the topic that in which you're part of, and now they want to tune in to this major event that they know other like-minded people are also part of. That is what changes the game. And what that does, if you do it right, if you structure, again, the word structure, if you structure your live stream correctly, then your return on investment is unlimited because now you're tapping into something that you didn't have before. And you can convert so many people, right? Because of the way you're presenting your live stream, right? If we watch the Super Bowl again, we know how much people pay just for their ad to be broadcasted within the Super Bowl, right? People pay millions of dollars for a 30-second ad. Why on earth will somebody do that? Because they know that the public that's here right now is an untapped public that just want to experience something unique. And the communication, what you're telling them may or may not get them to grab their wallet and want to purchase your product right now. So it allows you to what? One, promote. Two, establish yourself as an expert in the subject matter. Three, create and foster engagement, which is, listen, engagement is something that most companies are paying top dollar for today. Everyone is talking about engagement. I need people to engage with me. Of course, if you follow me, you know when I said the word engagement, I mean conversion, right? Conversion is engagement for me. Likes, comments do not pay the bills. I always say that, right? So you want people to engage with your brand, meaning to take action, call to action, to click on it, to go to purchase your product or services. Well, here's the thing. Live streaming allows you to do that organically, right? Now you're building a community with it. And it allows you to do something that is very important in the sales process. It allows you to convert. First of all, you qualify, then you convert the leads. The live streaming allows you to qualify that. How? Because whenever you're having a live conversation, only people that are truly interested in that conversation will tune in and be engaging with you. You've already qualified that person, right? And now, depending on your call to actions, depending on how you really submerge yourself, and you've positioned yourself, proven to them, I am the expert in the subject matter, guess what? They will go ahead and want to spend money with you. So you qualified them. Now you're converting them directly. And you've done that organically, understanding that a lot of industry will tell you to spend money to pay ads on social media in order to get people to actually purchase your product. Well, you're doing this on a consistent live streaming, a schedule without having to spend a dime if you've structured your live stream properly.
That's amazing. I think you might have just converted me in that one speech. Seriously, and it's cool because it comes back to what we were talking about earlier. You can offer a great audio experience. Okay, let's widen a little further. Let's give them video. Okay, let's widen a little further. Let's make it live video. And then widen a little further, you can now engage and actually like participate in certain ways. I love that. That's such an amazing way to approach it. It's funny, as you were asking, I mean, I recently, I haven't even watched it yet, right? Because I missed it. But UFC 298, I was biting my nails, man. But I'm like, it's $130. So what's $130 to watch this show? I'm in Thailand. I was like, well, didn't end up doing it. But it's funny because part of it, what it was, is that I missed the emotion. I missed that, like, and it was a bummer because I saw right away, I got on Reddit and instantly saw, he knocked him out in the second round. I was like, great. Like, I'll bet there's just a stellar fight and I missed it. And so, yeah, there's something like we just want so badly to be part of that emotion. And I love that. That's absolutely amazing. Now, this is something I'm going to kind of shift gears a little bit, but interesting thing I noticed when I looked at your YouTube channel, and I kind of want to understand your perspective and how you approach your branding. You had videos on how to grow a brand and reviews on the latest Samsung on the same page. I wouldn't have expected that, and I'm kind of curious, how has that worked for you? What's the philosophy behind that? Is it okay to just mix and match a bunch into a single YouTube channel? What's your take on that?
Fantastic question. So that actually is there as a testimonial of my background, right? My story. So if you know my background, my story, you know that when I started YouTube, that's what I was doing, right? I was talking about product, unboxing products, latest gadgets, latest phones, all the latest techs and all that. So I had a different YouTube channel, right, that I lost. If you know my story, that YouTube accidentally deleted when it reached 126,000 subscribers. And from there, lost my world, lost everything and all that, right? And so came back to YouTube, started doing the same thing, and I stopped. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to do things differently. And so I have a part of my community, which are people that identify with that. Again, going back to the same foundational elements that allow you to start at the beginning. So people identify, yeah, this is the guy that used to be one of the top guys in unboxing products. I used to partner with several brands, right? Apple, Samsung, and all of that, where those I'll have products and I'll display and all of that. So that is my story. So, AKA where I came from. And so when you look at that, you're like, huh. And of course, when you click on it, it shows you how long ago was the video, right? That was 4 years ago, 3 years ago, 2 years ago. Any video on YouTube, you can tell how long ago was that.
Yeah.
And then, oh, this is what he's doing today. So now if you want to dive into it, you're like, okay, how does somebody like this is doing this today? Well, look at the conversations that I'm having today. Today, I have the Content Creators University, and I'm teaching people how to leverage technology to grow their brand. Well, when you watch that, the guy already knows technology because he used to be partners with all the top tech brands and everything, right? And so instead of doing that, he went for the educational aspect, which instead of me just showing you tech, let me teach you how to leverage all of this to grow your own company. And as a creator, grow your content, right? And so that is the background there. So no, it's not just there because it's there because it tells a story. That goes back to something that's very important when you're building YouTube. YouTube will determine what industry you're in based on the type of YouTube channel you have. So I would say YouTube channel has to be a product. Look at your YouTube channel as a product. So what type of industry is your product part of? That's one. Second, there's something called suggested videos, right? YouTube has the recommended videos or channels that they want to send your way. So depending on the industry you're in, they may or may not recommend what you're talking about. So if the industry that your channel is under is completely different from the conversations that you're having, would it make sense? Let's say, for example, those videos were about me fishing, right? I'm fishing. I'm talking about live in the wild. And all of a sudden now I'm talking about tech. That will cause a disconnect from my foundational element to my current target audience, right? So I'll either have to completely delete all those videos, right? Because they have nothing to do with the wildlife, and start from scratch talking about technology and specifically leveraging the same thing. So if you watch the videos, I talk about cameras, phones, and all that. That's what I'm using today. Still using phones, cameras, and all of that today, but at an evolved state, right? Now we're not just looking at them and buying them for fun. Now we're actually using them to make money. So how can you use the same stuff that I used to talk about before? Phones, laptop, tablets. How can we use all of that now to grow our businesses, right? So still using the same element, but people identify with that. At least my target audience identifies with that and the algorithm, because remember, as a software developer, I understand how softwares are built. And so the algorithm still says this guy or this channel still using the same technology, but in a different fashion. So now let me bring a different type of, let me bring more people to this channel, which are people that are looking to learn, right? Instead of just discover the latest tech. Now learn how to use the latest tech in order to do some more amazing things that you're doing. So when you're looking at your YouTube channel, it's very important to stay true to the industry, one. Second, looking at how you can grow from there without disconnecting completely from what allowed you to be what you're doing right now, unless you really just want to make a shift in your business. Then there's a different strategy for that.
So here's a question. If we were to take my own life as an example, I created content on travel back in the day, as you know, and as we talked about earlier, I'm currently in Thailand, right? And I'm now, I think I'm now moving into this podcast, digital nomad kind of space. And I actually haven't seen a lot of that. So maybe there's going to be a spot there for me. But would it be wise of me to pull in, I mean, and in between those two things, by the way, I did a lot of sales, direct to consumer sales. So would it be possibly a good idea to say, okay, here's some videos that show my traveling routes, some old videos. Here's some videos on sales, and maybe kind of pull it into digital media marketing, podcasting. Is that a viable idea, or should how would you advise someone?
All right, folks, this is what people pay for, and we're about to give it to you for free. I love those questions. Let's dive into it. So you're a client, you were to come to me, you were to say exactly what you just said. I'll say a couple of things. One, your personal story needs to be known. Okay. So your background, your story needs to be told, leveraging video, right? So there's a strategy for that. I'll tell you, you got to do that. All right. So if you have a YouTube channel, regardless of what you talk about, people will connect with you as the person that's telling the story, right? And so because they're connecting with you, who is Brunson? Who is he? Oh yeah, it's just a guy that talks about, A, B, and C. No, who is he? Oh, okay, this is who he is. So you got to be able to tell that story. That's very important because that is going to allow you to be able to do certain things or not. Okay. So now we'll start from there. Second, if you're talking about, let's say, wildlife, or, let's say you're talking about life, right? And you want to leverage your background as in sales to talk about it. Yes, you can definitely do that. Now, here's the thing. I also always talk about expectation. Now, YouTube is the only platform that allows you to, one, define your brand or redefine your brand, which is fantastic. It allows you to do that. Now, you need to set the proper expectation with your target audience, your followers. How do you do that? One of the ways you can do that is through the intro. If you were to go on, let's say, Apple Podcasts or Spotify, you were to listen to my podcast, I have an intro on that. That intro tells you what you can look forward to be learning through the podcast. It also tells you who I am, what's my background expertise. So automatically, okay, the host of this podcast is an expert in media, tech, and this, okay? He talks about this. And in this podcast, he ultimately will be talking about this. Now, here's the thing. When you create that, you're setting a certain expectation with the people that are going to listen to you. So they're not going to be completely disconnected because they know, all right, he already set that expectation to us. We know what to expect. That's very important. Versus just having an intro that say, you are listening to this podcast with this person. It doesn't set any expectation. You're just telling me what I'm listening to with who's the host. Maybe he's every day or every week, but he's not telling me what to expect. So when we're talking about being successful, creating content and telling a story, these are some of the elements you need to structure into your communication, because everyone expects something and everyone will ask the same question. What can I expect from this podcast? What can I expect from this YouTube channel? What can I expect from these videos? Now, on the same channel, you can have different series. Maybe you have a live stream series, right, that talks about something specific. And then you have pre-recorded videos that you release, again, once a week. So maybe every Thursday you go live. Then every Tuesday you release pre-recorded videos that addresses something specific. But you've already set that expectation with people, and so they know what to expect. And your channel represents who you are, right? Remember, Brunson is a person. He came from somewhere, his background. And so as the expert, this is what he's offering people. So that's what I'll tell you. As the expert, what are you offering people? That's very important, because if you want to really make six figures, right? And I teach that as well, right? Like last year, my podcast made six figures in 5 months. And I started a new podcast that makes six figures in 5 months. People are like, how are you doing that? Well, if you really want to make that money, this is the blueprint. Like, this is how to establish your podcast. Because if it doesn't truly make sense to your target audience, they're not going to spend the money. They're not going to want to partner with you. And ultimately, you're going to lose because they don't understand you like you think they do, right? I have a customer that asked me this question and said, okay, but what if it made sense in my mind, like in his mind? I told him, great. But remember, people cannot read your mind. So always be your first customer and always ask yourself a question. Does it make sense to me as a first-time customer? One thing that I always do at every single one of my podcasts that I release, I always introduce myself and I always tell them what I do and how I can help them. Somebody asked me, why do you do that at every single podcast? I tell them, because this podcast could be the very first podcast that a new visitor discovers. So every single time I introduce myself and every single time I tell them how I can help them and what I'm all about. So even though I have the intro, even though I have everything, I always set that expectation every single time. That allows me to do a lot of things. First, I don't get a whole lot of questions. Second, it allows me to be very crystal clear to my target audience what I'm all about, how I can help them, and how they can continue to connect with me and grow. That is not a question they should be asking me because I made that crystal clear. And so whenever they're listening to me, they're not surprised at the conversations that we're having, right? And that allows me to grow very rapidly. Again, growing for me is not having 1 million subscribers or 1 million views. It's having 1 million customers, paying customers. There's a huge difference there because I know content creators that have 2 million subscribers that are barely making $1 million a year. Then I know others that have 250,000 subscribers that are making 30 million, 5 million, 10 million, 15 million. So which one do you want to be? I want to be the person that has the most customers because again, likes, comment, sharing doesn't pay me. And ultimately I would like to be paid because this requires a lot of work and investment.
Totally. Well, and it's I like how you've had this such a deliberate approach. Not only do you want your customers to always know exactly what you can do for them, but it's just every part of it. And that's what I like about talking to you. Everything's so intentional. The way you dress. I know this, right? Like I was like, oh,
It's
you are
intentional,
always
correct?
so branded. Yeah, because you stand out. Everyone in the room when we went to that conference noticed who you were. It's like, who's this guy? You just stood out. You were just different. Right. And then it was so quick that everyone was like, oh, he's the branding expert. And it was just so interesting how everyone kind of knew that about you. And so I like that whole journey. And I mean, if I'm understanding correctly, first it's make sure people know where your roots are so they can connect with you as a human being.
Mm-hmm.
And then make sure they always know what you're really offering them. And they're not surprised that this is going to turn into a transaction of some kind.
Mm-hmm.
Like it, and I think that's such a big thing that not only have I in the past missed a lot, but most podcasters. And it comes back to this, right? There are some huge podcasts who can barely keep the bread on the table. And they've got tons of followers, and you're going, how on earth? Like, what's going on here? And it's because they're just aimlessly creating content, and they get lots of clicks. But if you're not creating a path for the customer, then it's like, oh, okay, great hobby, but is this a
Correct.
career?
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's the thing. I love that you talked about, the sales aspect of it. Because ultimately, trust me, I do not know any podcaster that will tell you they don't care about making money. They just want to share stories. None. Let's be real. And people know me, right? I'm very, very honest. I've never sat down across the table with any creator, any podcaster, large or small, that will tell you they don't care about making any money. My thing is, if you want to make money, you got to give people a reason to spend money with you. If you're not giving them a reason, well, they're not going to. Think about it. Let's go back again to the Super Bowl. Everybody knows the Super Bowl. But the Super Bowl is not shy about commercials and asking for you to spend money with them. Duh. But guess what? They are one of the largest events in the world. But they still clearly, unapologetically will tell you, here's the product, here's where to go, sign up today. Right?
Yeah.
So if the largest brands, right, and you can name Apple, you name it, the largest brands still run ads, still spend the time to really reach their audience, even though they're the largest. What makes you think that as a small creator, you can escape that and hope to make money? It doesn't work like that. Why? Because people, their subconscious, have to be reminded of things. My wife, she's a college professor, and she told me one thing that I never forgot, right? That people need to be reminded at least 7 times of something before they take action. And when I researched it, I discovered that people need to see you or your offer at least 7 times before they make a decision to take action or engagement with it. That means that at a very minimal, your offering, you should repeat that 7 times or in 7 different podcasts for somebody to be like, oh, you know what? I've heard this quite a few times. And in 7 different occasions, he's really convinced me, right, that he's really the man for the job. So because of the way he's talking about it, because he's really the expert in the subject matter, because he knows what he's talking about, after listening to 7 of his episodes or having seen this ad 7 times, guess what? I'm convinced. I'm going to go ahead and spend the money And now it's not over. Whenever they go now to your funnel or to the platform you have online, you need to design an experience that's going to make them go over the hump, make them spend the money. So it's a whole process. If you miss one aspect of it, you're not going to make money. You can talk about it in your podcast. Then you did not have any design infrastructure, any element to truly capture that lead. So whenever they land on your website, they see information, information, and information. You did not design any experience to encourage them to spend the money. That's also an aspect that's going to make you lose money. So what does that mean? It means before you even start your podcast, make sure that the offer, the product, and the funnel, the experience, customer experience is already set in stone, designed to really maximize whenever somebody lands on your page. That's the first thing to do. Then you do your podcast. Then you're intentional about the structuring of your podcast. Then you want to make sure that you talk about your product and services. Everybody knows. I even have people that commented on my podcast. They're like, yo, when JP starts, just know that the first 5 to 10 minutes on his live stream, he's going to give you news and talk about some product and services. It doesn't bother me. I ask some people, why does it bother you guys, right? Or you're shy to tell people, if you want to work with me, go here. These are the type of services that I have to offer, and I would love to help you just like I've helped millions of other people. Why are you shy to talk about that? People want to hear that. People that love you, respect you, they don't mind hearing that. Why do you think it's bothering them that you talk about that every single time when you go live or you release something? You just have to set the expectation. That's what I do. As you guys know, this is what I do. As you guys know, every single podcast, we take the first 5 to 10 minutes to talk about the news. And after that, we jump into the conversation. So we do have sponsors on my podcast, partners. We give them a shout out because they allow us to keep the lights on, to keep producing and releasing things for you guys. So let's go ahead and talk about that. And then we jump into this conversation. People know, they respect it, and they appreciate it. It's that simple. And keep it moving. Really, I want to help folks, but if you don't do it, if you're shy, it's not going to work. And you have to sell. You have to encourage people to spend the money, and you have to tell them what you have to offer them. And trust me, they will spend the money.
Love it. I'm gonna put a shameless plug in here for everyone listening. If you want your brand to blow up, JP's the guy. So those that are trying to get a hold of you, they want you to be the guy that coaches them how to really make a brand that actually converts to dollars, not just likes. What's the best way for them to get in touch with you?
Great thing. I actually have my private community. I call it the private circle, right? So I have a mentorship program. And so if you're looking for me to mentor you, right, you can just go to my website, jphightek.com/mentorship. Okay. JP Hightek. Hightek is HIGHTEK.com/mentorship. Go ahead and join the private circle. And we talk about everything that you need to learn in order to take your brand to the next level and truly make an impact and make true money. Because that's the thing. You got to make money. If you can make a clear return on investment, you need to stop today, or you need to partner with somebody that's going to tell you what you're missing. Here's the thing. If you're playing the game, you don't see everything you're missing. You need a coach. You need somebody that's standing on the sideline, that have done it before, that understand the rules of the game, that's looking at you play the game. After the game, tell you, you know what you missed? These are the things that are missing in the way you're playing the game. Then you can implement those things and you're a winner, right? You can never know if you're too busy actually playing. That's the thing. And so that's what I do for people. But ultimately, for the folks that are like, I just want to network, connect with JP. I have other things. Well, same website, jphightek.com, jphightek.com. Go there, go to the booking page and jump on my calendar. Let's see how we can help you and your organization grow. Of course, I have a, studio here. I'm in the state of Tennessee. So for the folks that are like, yo, I need help with my branding. Well, we create that, right? I have a studio. Me and my team will shoot your, professional images, right? Your branded images, because there's a difference between a photographer, our photography session, and a branding session, right? So we do your branding session that will allow you to leverage those images, both still and videos, to create that experience, right? People love the behind the scenes and different stuff. And so we help you do that. We have cameras, cinema cameras and all that to build a unique experience. We'll help you do that. Then we can go further into your online presence, helping you build a premium podcast, helping you structure that, helping you, brand that, because that's very important. You have to brand that properly. And then will help you get on TV. I have my own mobile application. I have my TV application. My team of developers will do that. So I'm talking the whole 9 yard of branding. If you need help with that, let's connect. All right. Large or small, we've been doing this for a while. I've been doing this for over 15 years, and we can definitely take care of you. So let's work together. Let's connect.
Awesome. JP, thanks for, just not holding back, giving out some of those awesome nuggets. I mean, you guys got probably a sample of how he operates and how he's able to really take people and just navigate them. So yeah, the reason I say this, and are you paying me to say this right now?
No, not at all. Actually,
No, right?
I didn't even know you were going to say that.
Well, and the reason is because the people I know that are smart podcasters all said, if you want to know how to be like legendarily good at YouTube and branding, like JP's the guy. And I was like, oh, well, the smart people I know say that. So that's where that plug is coming from. That's not me trying to, do some kind of paid promotion. That's just a very genuine
I
thing.
appreciate that.
JP,
And
thanks
Brenson,
for coming on the show.
Yeah, Brenson, let me add one thing if you allow
please.
me. I talk a lot about strategy. And like I said, one of the main strategies is what I talk about in my book. If I may, I'll talk to them about it because I know it's going to help. The live stream blueprint, right? Get this book, family. It's a #1 Amazon bestseller for a reason. And it's because I really shared a lot. If you want to understand my main strategy, right, is live stream and how to effectively live stream or leverage live streaming to grow your business. Well, the subtitle of this book is Starting and Scaling Your Business with Live Video. Go get it today. You can go to thelivestreamblueprint.com, get your copy today, and hopefully this blesses somebody out there.
Awesome. JP, thanks for coming on.
My pleasure.
Thank you for listening to another episode. I'm so grateful for your support. If anything on this show was valuable to you, I have one huge ask. That's just share it with your friends. And if you have a little extra time, go ahead and leave me a review. That's my big ask for you guys. We'll see you on the next episode. Thank you for listening to another episode. I'm so grateful for your support. If anything on this show was valuable to you, I have one huge ask. That's just share it with your friends. And if you have a little extra time, go ahead and leave me a review. That's my big ask for you guys. We'll see you on the next episode.